Hello and welcome to KromaCast. This is a podcast where friends gather and talk all things Kroma, a comic book created, written, and illustrated by Lorenzo De Felici. I am one of your hosts, TJ, and joining me as always are my co-hosts, Bill.
Oh, hi everyone.
Ryan.
Hello, everybody.
And Wyatt Lane.
Hey.
Happy to be here, guys.
You're never... When it comes to introductions, I feel like you're never going to be just Wyatt. You're Wyatt Lane forever.
I appreciate it. It's good for branding.
That's right.
So, episode 2, issue 2. Can't wait to dive into this one. It was awesome. We will get to that, but we are, as of the day of this recording, 4 days away from Christmas. You guys,
right.
You guys ready to go and got everything done that you needed to get done?
I would like for there to be not a long time. Like, give me like an extra 3 days. Like, I want an extra 3 days. I think that'd be a nice little buffer between now and Christmas. But I think I had a huge project at work today, which was originally planned to be today and tomorrow, but I crammed it all into today, so I won't have it to do tomorrow. So I think that's going to give me some time to maybe do some last minute stuff. I haven't wrapped anything. Might need to do a couple errands, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try and squeeze that in tomorrow. So yeah.
No, I'm ready. We were just talking a little bit before. I think before you jumped on that, I'm feeling burnt out from it, from the holiday, like the shopping, the wrapping, and I'm just ready for it to be here. But normally I'm very last minute. So, but because we got everything done early, I'm just all right.
Nice.
Get it over with.
Wyatt, I feel like your son is at the perfect age to where I would be excited for Christmas.
Yeah, for sure.
Know what I mean?
It's a lot of he definitely is gotten to that phase where he knows when Christmas is coming and he's asks for specific things. So we're super excited. We got him a little electronic drum kit thing because he loves literally banging on anything he can with drumsticks. So that'll be exciting for sure.
Nice.
Cool. If you want to be a part of the conversation, then you can email us over at KromaCastPodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at KromaCast. If you love all things Invincible like we do, you can check us out over at the Invincible Podcast and follow us on Twitter there at InvincibleCast. If you love our intro music as much as we do, then you can check out the music by our very own Wyatt Lane, which is available, I think, pretty much everywhere on the internet where music is available.
Yeah,
and you just came out with a new album, right?
Yeah, I release new music every month, and then at the end of the year, put those songs together in an album. So just earlier this month on the 10th was my newest album called Balance. That's available everywhere. And then I'll have new music in January coming too.
And it is very good. Wyatt, I have to ask, since your popularity has exploded since Invincible, have you seen your albums do better or the same?
I've seen little peaks here and there, but it's still relatively a small following, which is kind of just what I've always sort of expected as well. But yeah, I've seen little peaks here and there, and mostly just the biggest excitements that have come out of that are either other fans of Invincible or just people who are fans of Kind of Funny or fans of other podcasts that would reach out and be hey, I heard this, intro that you did for this podcast. I have this project that I'm looking to do music for. And that's been more exciting than seeing any Spotify numbers go up, is just other people reaching out being I have this thing that I want you to work on, and then getting to workshop with those people and come up with new stuff has been super cool.
I've been having it on repeat, around the house and things. I love it's so good, but I love the last song. The Light is my favorite one.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So Kroma issue 2. What were you guys overall thoughts without any major spoilers?
Wyatt, you can go first.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. It definitely. I was trying to see how I would compare it to the first issue. The first issue was such a big dump of the world and the mythology, and it was so just kind of every page turn there was something where I was ooh, I want to know more about this part of the world. I want to know more about this part of the world. And this didn't have as much of that, but it was more of just let's actually live in the outside world now that like pretty much all of the first issue or most of it was in the Pale City, to now just be fully in the wilds and start to experience what it's like out there and what kind of people you might run into and what kind of other animals there might be out there. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I can see where this is now like kind of driving the story towards whatever the conclusion is going to be. So yeah, I loved it.
Brian?
Yeah, no, I agree. The first one was that a little bit more of the exposition, being all about the city and the lore and the world building. Whereas this one was very much like I left the first issue, finished the first issue, and just wanted to know more about the world and the mythology and everything. Whereas I left this one, finished this one, and just wanted to go back and look at most of the art. You know what I mean? Like this one was very much about the art for me. Not that the first one wasn't, and not that this one didn't have great lore in it either, but the thing that stood out to me most in this one was the imagery. And I know that's because it was like, bam, here's all the colors, and we know Lorenzo like can really knock that kind of stuff out of the park. And really cool. Some interesting characters to talk about, and I'm excited to talk about it.
I felt like there was as much, I don't like to use the word exposition because that sounds like a bad thing.
Yeah, I know.
But I feel like there was almost as much in this one just about other things. Like the first one was kind of about the world that they live in, and then this one was like about the creatures and how they work, and like, you know what I mean? So there was still a lot of that. I missed Zet a lot. Like I feel like his character set the bar really, 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 really high with what a main character can be. And Kroma's just kind of getting her feet wet. You know what I mean? So we haven't really, she's like the audience to me. You know what I mean? Like she's just there experiencing this world like we are. So I'm excited to see how she's going to be her own character. That's like a good fucking protagonist, you know? But there are questions, and I'm glad that there's still questions. I feel like we were wrong. Like I really don't think that there are more civilizations that live out there. I feel like it really is just super isolated, and it's very dangerous. Like way more dangerous than I thought. Like I always thought like, oh, I could live out in the wild, but I don't think that I could, because it's kind of like as dangerous as Oblivion to me. It reminded me a lot of like living in Oblivion.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, TJ?
For Ryan, I mean, you said the art was so good. I like every time it brings me back to Oblivion song, where it's like every new issue I have to like change the background on my phone. Like it looks so good. Like you can't see it because it's straight white, but it's like everything looks so good. The artist is amazing. I love kind of like what Wyatt said. We're now getting the outside the Pale City version of the story, and there's also things that are happening in the issue throughout the entire issue, pretty much from the beginning all the way to the end, that never gets fully explained. Like Bill said that he missed Zet, but Zet was in this issue. We don't know why or how. Is it in her mind? Like, but he's disagreeing with her. Like, we don't have the full answer to that yet, and I like that we don't have that answer yet. So more things to look forward to there. So it's just more goodness, more of the first issue, and it just gets better and better. So yeah, let's dig in.
So like I said, I was working a lot today. I was pretty busy. I read this about 10 minutes before we sat down to record. I was excited to read it, and what I would normally do, and what I wish I could have done, was reread the previous issue, or at least skim it, kind of get an idea. Let me tell you, when I turn this page and I remember that Zed got stabbed at the end of last issue for the first time since like thinking about issue 2, I had completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Like, so what? I know, because I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I just had to get issue 2, and I had a lot going on lately. And so I turned the page and I'm like, holy shit, like it like all flooded back. That was a really cool experience. And this page is stunning too, the way it's all laid out.
Yeah, what an amazing first fucking page. Like, unrelenting, man. Like, oh, hey, remember this happened, Ryan, to your point, you know? Like, and I was like, wait a minute. And then, so it showed a preview. The preview was, I think, like the 4th page, right?
Oh, I didn't look at the preview actually. I
didn't either. I didn't want to.
I did. I read the shit out of it.
I looked at it. Yeah.
It was the 4th page.
It was somewhere around. It was somewhere around.
I want to say it was like the 3rd and 4th page. Like it showed her swinging off of the rope and then landing outside the wall. So you knew okay, we're going to be outside the walls in this issue, and that was basically it.
Yeah. So it didn't actually show who it was that.
Well, yeah, she's talking to them. So, and she says you killed him.
It's the guard, though. Like, because he's the one that has all the spears in his back. Like, he's holding all the extra spears, and he has a spear in his hand.
Yeah,
so
he
obviously,
threw it.
It was. That's what you were talking about, right, TJ? Like, who threw it?
No, I was just asking if they revealed that in the preview.
Oh no. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
this first
but the
page
preview, page 3 does say, like, she says you killed him. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, by the preview, you would know the person she's talking to killed him. Doesn't know it's specifically the guard, but I don't think that really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I do like I like how this started out straight up with McCovey trying to like continue his brainwashing. Like, you hurt him. It's what you do. You hurt people. And she's like, no, you did this. This was you. You lie to me. And that was all because of Zet, because she's like, Zet kind of opened up her eyes to otherwise I feel like she would have just kind of retreated back into herself and said, yeah, this was my fault. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think it's definitely Zet's influenced a little bit of him that started to show her the outside world, show that, your eyes are the colors of the sky and of the trees and all of that. And she started to wake up to that. But that is what spurs her to be like, no, you've been lying to me, and make her escape. So it's a one of those bittersweet things of like, they start off by answering the question of, do we think Zet's going to die? Is he going to survive? Are they going to do something? Like, no, he's dead. But, at least in the last kind of things that he did, he kind of pushed Kroma to finally break free.
And it surprises McCovey, I think, the McCovey, where she says, you lie to me. And he almost has like the surprised look on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys think it's interesting that it's the middle of the night and we know that he has the clay forming his hair into the horns and stuff like that for like ceremony and stuff. But do you think that he did it because he needs to keep up some sort of facade in front of her?
What if Zet is the one that helps him remove it, and Zet was with her, so he wasn't there to help him?
Yeah.
I don't know. Or that, but I also, but I guess you're right. Maybe they knew this was coming, so he did that.
Right.
On his way.
He knew it was going to be a big moment. He's like, I need to look cool for this. I'm going to take my time.
So yeah, she tries to escape. She jumps on like this rope that was hanging there, like a clothesline. And then the McCovey tells one of his henchmen, Demog, to stop her, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll stop her," and then like cuts the line.
What other characters in like cinema and things does he remind you of? He's like that just pure evil fucking. Like, did you ever see 3:10 to Yuma?
Dude, I knew you were gonna say 3:10. I knew you were gonna say Ben Foster.
Ben Foster's character, like just that, like that right-hand man that's like just a fucking, you like
just
hate
a pure evil character. Like, you're not looking at this character getting any type of redemption. You're just like, this is just a
he's a tool that's used.
Yes.
Like even in 3:10 to Yuma, Russell Crowe's like character, he ends up, spoiler alert, killing him because he uses him as a tool. But even here, or TJ, to your point, like he's like the one guy, he has remorse. He's like, no, I didn't want you to fucking kill her. Like she needs to be alive.
Yeah,
I don't think he had remorse. I think it was important to, the Pale City that she stays alive, or
complicates things,
or more so doesn't escape. Because his very next line was, because she swings and then she gets launched out of the city and into the wild,
great
right?
Image too,
and it was. But then immediately after that, the McCovey says to Demog, you need to find her, gather your best men, find her, and bring her back to me, dead or alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, He said alive or dead, not dead or alive, TJ. Not to correct you, but I'm just saying it's kind of important.
But even like how you guys were talking about how Demog is just like this evil character who has no redeeming qualities. When she flies off, he's smiling and he's like, wow, she really flew. Like he's just amused by the fact that maybe she, broke her back while landing.
It's like what? Almost 4 pages worth of her on this rope, and you turn that page and it's a 2-page half spread of her launching across the entire city. And so the reader, myself, I was even like, damn, like, and then you turn the page and he's really like, wow, she really, and it's like, yeah, man.
This next page is another reason why I do love reading digitally, because the first panel you see is like her, I guess, opening her eyes, and you just see like a word bubble that says, hey, and then you go to the next panel and it's Zet.
Oh, cool.
And I love that Zet is still in the Pale City, like he's still like black and white.
The full page spread of her laying right before that, though, is also stunning. It's a very like, not Alice in Wonderland or like a Wizard of Oz type imagery where she's
it's kind of like that.
Is it kind of? Yeah, like
it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I love that page.
But and even like to touch on what you were talking about, TJ, about like we don't really know what's going on with why Zet is there if she's just imagining him. When he says hey, it's not like a thought, or it's not a speech bubble coming off screen. It's just like a thought bubble, like it's the little wavy. So it does make me think that she really is just like she, especially her having been kept in captivity for what we assume is all of her life. It would make sense to me that she like essentially creates imaginary friends, and now this young boy who like inspired her to get out finally, she's kind of using him as an imaginary friend to guide her.
Yeah, I think it is tied to the fact that like she's had this awakening, and like this is how she's coping in a way, and it's the only other person she can use to cope with this, to talk through it, because there is no one else. And also, I am a sucker anytime this is used in any media. I know of video games that have done this, any movies or anything like that. Anytime there is that lost person that you've cared for, or enemy, or whoever that is just there talking to you, but they're not really there. I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for that stuff, and it's really cool. I'm excited to see how else they use it.
I think that it's going to get kind of creative, and I think that there might be more. I hope that there might be more than it just being her imagination, because there's multiple times where like what he says isn't something that she knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like hey, they're coming.
That's another reason why I sort of questioned whether or not it is just in her mind, because one of the things we talked about last time is when we were debating whether or not Zet would die, is there's the whole kind of like setup with the story about his mother. And if I assume we're still going to get some kind of payoff to that, but if he's just from her memory and just existing in her mind, there's no way that she would know anything that would pay off that storyline. So it does make me wonder how they would maybe make it more than just she's imagining him.
Yeah. And it could all be in her head. It definitely could. But there are moments where he's covering he's covering her eyes. You don't need to see this. Come up here. Come this way. Like how, like he knows, like feels like he knows.
There's
things.
A part where she an arrow comes.
It's him yelling, like, "Stop!" That's I just flipped through, and I think that's the only one. Like the other ones, I think are fine. Even the covering their eyes, it's her covering her eyes, and she's telling herself she doesn't need to see this.
It could be, yeah, for sure, it could be.
I mean, stop. She
asked him. She asked straight out. She's like, "I don't know why you're here," and he said, "You're here. I'm here because you need me," which makes me think. Gets in her mind, so like
I know.
And it could be either way.
She also asked where, or she's like, "Are you in my mind?" And he's like, "Where else would I be?" Like he literally says that to her. But but I don't know. I still think that Lorenzo could.
Doesn't he say, "I'm nowhere else"?
I'm nowhere else. Something like that. Where else would I be? Or yeah.
Why does the fact that it's happening in your head mean that it isn't real? What movie?
I know.
Santa Claus.
What is it, Wyatt?
It's Harry Potter.
It is Harry Potter.
Ugh, I'm glad I don't know that. At least I'm consistent with things I hate.
You don't know good things.
No, I fucking... Go ahead, Ryan.
Demog and his crew going out into the woods to find them. Another great, full page splash of them walking with the. I don't know. We got to come up with a name for these monsters, for these creatures. But
you're pretty good with naming Lorenzo's things. You came up with Terrabat, right? That was you, wasn't it, Ryan?
I don't remember.
We'll give you to the end of this issue.
Right.
So if you're quiet this whole time and you're just brainstorming, I understand.
Yeah. But then they attack, and we know.
I think it's pretty fucking ominous that they're just like.
Oh yeah.
In the background behind those trees.
Yeah. This was actually my favorite art page. I think of the inside. The inside of the issue is. I think this is my favorite page, and this is my wallpaper. I love them in the background like that, like kind of peeking through the trees and them not knowing what's there. So good.
Chromatic dragon.
I like it.
There you go.
I like it.
What did you call him? What'd you call him?
Chromatic dragon, like Komodo dragon, and
that's not bad.
Chromatic.
What about some sort of crocodile, like chromatic? No, it doesn't work.
Chromatodile.
So it's there. We're getting closer.
Yeah, we'll keep workshopping throughout.
Chromacodiles.
I'm excited to break down the colors of their necks, like always making sure that it matches with what's going on, because in the background here you can see how the one's neck is red.
Yep.
The trees, so it's about to fucking attack, right? Am I right?
Yep.
And I like that this page really sells like how big they are. Like they're dinosaurs. They're not just like regular big alligators. They're humongous.
Yeah. So Zet and Kroma are in a tree basically watching this happen. They're watching the creatures attack Demog and his crew. And he puts as we were talking about before, puts his hand over her eyes and says, you don't need to see this. She says, I don't know why you're here. And he says, I'm here because you need me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then the next page is where she says, so are you in my head? And he says, Ryan, what you said, I'm nowhere else.
Yeah.
So they just
she's thinking, does she go back? Then, this is when the arrow strikes the tree. That yells, run.
I feel like he gets mad at her. He's like, should I go back? And he's like, back to them. And then the arrow hits the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So they see them. Go ahead.
Yeah. They continue chasing. Man, she gets to this cliff, and I see you see all the thorns that look like razor blades down below. And they've got her cornered. And right here, I immediately think of the cover of issue 2, which is just an incredible cover. I love the cover of this. And I see all the cuts, and I'm like, oh no, she's going in. She's going to jump. So that was a great misdirection. I really liked that, because she doesn't end up going in the thorns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got this asshole being an asshole once again, where he says, what's his name? Demog?
Yep.
Demog, right? He says, we could bring you back alive, but I'd hate to waste an opportunity like this. And he talks about how they should have killed her.
Yeah.
When she was a child.
Then it's an insult to everything that they've fought for and everything that they've worked towards to keep her alive. That she shouldn't be alive.
So is he referencing just her eyes?
Yeah, I get the sense that he is like a purist to this, like, color is bad and it's what's wrong with the world, and he sees the Maccabi using her to, like, as a tool to keep people in control, and is still like, no, she's bad, we should have killed her. It's
not only
just like a fanatic.
Yeah,
it's not only that, but like all the children that they murdered because they had colors in their eyes, and she gets to live. Like, I think that I feel like that's where he's coming from. Like, everything that we've done, everything that we've fought for, and you're alive despite all of that. Like, I feel like that's why he hates her. They've done so much.
I just think he's an asshole and crazy.
I agree.
But all those are valid points. So we get all this crazy bird, like this one panel where all these birds are flying in, and then this huge page of a giant bird.
Rainbow bird.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of this? Like, I don't know how I feel about it. So was it flying? Was he flying in this like suit thing? Because spoiler alert, a couple pages you see this guy's arm.
Yeah,
with a belt like under the bird, and he kind of throws these colors at the guys. So you're like, oh, okay, there's a guy like in the bird or like in its belly or something like that. No, but it's a bird suit.
I think it's meant to look like he was like, because the first page, like my initial reaction was like, oh, cool, giant bird. Like we're going to learn there's more creatures out there. So I think it's meant to like give you the idea that it flew in. But I'm assuming it was just that he was like maybe hiding in that tree and jumped down. Like,
so it's not a functional suit. He can't actually fly.
I think it's for disguise, like he talks about later, where like if you can't hide, you got to blend in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he knocks Damog into the thorns, and you see blood splatter up. He kills the guard with a spear, just like Zed. But all the while, you just see like the hands peeking through the outfit or the costume, so you kind of get an idea of what's happening here. It's interesting. The first issue, she was the monster in the suit. And now we get another monster in a suit in this one.
Yeah.
So you get this old crazy guy come out of it. And he's like, come away from those thrones. He's like, wow, you've really grown up, Kroma. So first twist.
Which is another thing that we don't fully get an answer to. Like he probably knew her from when he used to live in the Pale City.
Yes. He is old. He was banished. He's been there for a while. She's young. He definitely knew. But that also puts on it that he was banished or whatever from the Pale City probably within the last
10 years. Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to say. He hasn't been out in the wilderness that long if he knew her while he was in the Pale City.
No, but he that's a long time. It is a long time, but he probably was familiar with a lot of things, being a monarch or whatever it's called.
Magistrate.
A magistrate to give him a jump start on what he has to deal with out there. But this totally felt like something out of Last Airbender, by the way. I don't know what it was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is.
It's because of the way he kept using puns. He kept saying like, "Oh,
it just felt so."
It's soft, not chewed. I'm not a bird.
He was funny. Yeah, when he first takes off the outfit, he says, "I'm no bird, sorry," and that is the first setup for several moments throughout this issue. That by the end of it, I started laughing out loud because of how many times he would say something that implies he's a bird. He's like, "I'm not a bird,"
but really, I'm
just so you know. Like,
but then he would call himself a bird.
Not expecting to laugh at a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, he's like, "Come on, let's get back to the nest." He's like, "Yeah, I know, it's not a nest. Again, I'm not a bird. It's a hole." Like,
he reminds me of Boomy.
Yeah, it's kind of a Boomy. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
So yeah, he takes her back to, or they're starting to head back to his where he lives, and then we get a scene back in the Pale City of the Maccavi and the boys. All of Zet's friends, and they're kind of, they're scared of the Maccavi, and they're trying to ask him basically where Zet went, and the Maccavi becomes like upset and gets pissed off and says, basically, leave me alone. Like he went out on a journey, stop asking questions type of thing, and kind of like pushes them away. And then they leave, and as they're walking away, they're saying like, did it look like he had tears in his eyes? Did it look like he was crying?
Yeah.
So the Maccavi maybe felt something for Zet, or maybe felt something for Kroma.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think it was because of maybe both? Probably.
Yeah. I think it was probably more Zet because they had more of a relationship.
This page for me kind of solidified that, like, okay, Zet is really dead. Like, because they would have, if he was not sure about it, they would have sent somebody down to like look for his body, and if it was gone, he'd still be in like, we got to find this kid mode, and not I'm sitting in my house kind of sad about
Zet's 100% dead. Yeah. Like even before this panel, like I was like, I had no question. It's just about like what form is he like that she's seeing, Yeah. So I have a really important question, and hopefully it makes you guys wonder something as well. So this Magister, he lived in the Pale City, right? And He's been out in the wilderness. Let's call it for 10 years, right? Can we say at least sure. 10 years, right? Yeah. The Pale City, the sun's still out, right? These people are still getting sunshine on them. That's not a question. So why is he Caucasian and not black and white? Because there is
I was curious about that. Where he's got a slight like peachiness to his skin, and I like to imagine that like I don't know if they specifically say this in issue 1 anywhere, but they talk about like how they cover their food with stuff. Like I imagine the people of the Pale City are making sure that like sunlight is never really hitting their skin. They're putting on they've got SPF whatever to make sure that they're not actually.
There were a couple times when she was like sliding down a hill or through brush, and I kept thinking like, man, is any of that going to brush off? And we actually see that they are like they are covering themselves with ash or paint or something like that. Like you got to think like what's his face covered, puts those horns on that are the same color of his skin. Like I think it's just clay and ash that they cover themselves with. But then again, you're right. Then they say
they killed kids that were born with any kind of color or
hair or eyes
but I could even see that being like partially even like from Lorenzo, just kind of like a metaphor of like we're finally seeing a human who's allowed color to be in his life again. Like he's been out in the wild, not protecting himself from color, like embracing that, and the color is actually returning back to his skin as well because of that. Like that it's a gradual thing that's happened over the 10 years of him, not making sure his skin never develops a tan or whatever. Yeah. Like
I think it probably has something to do with ingesting
that too.
The clay, something like that.
Yeah. I can see that too.
Yep, that's what I initially thought, but I thought that it's intentional. You don't forget to do coloring, you know what I mean? So it's absolutely intentional.
Right. So he says his name is Saristo, and that he was exiled, and he doesn't say why. He just says, let's just say I lost my way, which we can, get a hint at towards the end of the issue.
Got really obsessed with birds.
Yeah, I had this thing with birds.
Enough with the bird puns.
Enough. So she asked him, like, if you were a magister and you taught about me and you taught, all these different things, that why aren't you scared? And then we don't get an answer because immediately he tells her, he shushes her, and they get basically attacked by a different creature. This one has 3 eyes, all 3 different colors, and it like screeches at her, and they start running away. He reaches into like a satchel, and it looks like he has multiple different colored like marbles or different types of balls, and he pulls out a bunch of blue ones, and he starts like reciting this song, blue blue, to stop the crew, I love this hue, what about you? And throws these blue balls at the creatures, and it turns into like a blue mist surrounding them.
Like smoke bombs.
Smoke bombs, yeah, exactly. And she says they stopped, and he says, yeah, but not for long. We need to move. So, and then they continue on.
Yeah.
So we get a couple panels of her like seeing a bee and everything like that, and then she gets a panel. There's a panel of something bright hitting her in the face.
Well, they're and it's coughing on the blue. Sorry, one of the chroma dials or whatever have their red neck turned white. Mm-hmm. Well, it was coughing, so that was cool. So, I mean, obviously the snake type one was white at first, searching, and then it turned red. And now in this moment after they run away, one of them has turned white and the other one has turned red. Just another thing that like we wanted to keep up on those as we see them, because now we can kind of understand that language.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
So now we get the big question, right? Because before, I, as well as I'm assuming everybody else, thought like the King of Color was just like this crazy story metaphor that wasn't a thing, right? But now we get even this Magister who what's his name again? Something crazy. Saristo. He's like, yeah, that's the King of Color up there. That's his throne. And if you see the sun hits it just right, you can like see his outline or something like that.
His cape.
Yeah, his cape. So you see this mountaintop, and it looks like it could be like a prism, right? Is that kind of what we're assuming it's up there? Something that splits light into a bunch of color like a prism.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys think we're gonna like?
I mean, he's
there?
not the most reliable person, but.
Yeah, I don't know if everything he's saying about the king is necessarily true, but I feel like we're going to go there.
We're going.
I feel like,
I think right now we're supposed to
confirmation for me.
I feel like even now we're supposed to feel like this guy's crazy, and it's just like a metaphor for or like religion, or I mean, like, or people believing in something that isn't really there, like going back to the Wizard of Oz, right? Like the same type of thing. However, I think that is going to, come back, and there really is something there. Like, I'm not maybe not necessarily a king of colors, but there is something there that is,
So you're saying that there's something there that's a scientific thing, and people turned it into a religion and a story about the king of color. Is what you're saying? No,
I'm just saying. I mean, maybe, but I'm saying there is something there.
But not a man, not a king of color with a cape.
It might be a king of color. I'm saying a lot of people can read this and think that there's nothing there. It's just the sun. It is what it is, and then people just the Pale City made it. Tried to put their own spin on what they think happened, but there's really nothing there. But I think that there is something there. Don't know what. Could be a king of color. Could be something completely different. I don't know.
I mean, it says when the sun hits it, for a brief moment, you can see the king's radiant cape. I mean, maybe Kyle Higgins has been working on this with Lorenzo the whole time, guys.
It's a big
radiant black crossover.
What are your thoughts, Bill? What do you think is?
What do I think that it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that this story just like bleeds brainwashing and like cults and misdirection and stuff like that. So it's definitely not a king of color, like that whole story. But it's something interesting, and I think we're absolutely gonna go there, because that one page, I was like, all right, that's the new obsession. Like, what the fuck is this thing, and what are we gonna how are we gonna spin it?
Yeah.
So, and I think what's exciting to me about it is that, like, all of the different versions of what it could be, aside from me joking about it being a radiant black thing, all of the possible outcomes, I could see Lorenzo doing it in a way that felt like poignant and felt meaningful to the story. If it's nothing and it's just a little crystal mountain that's off in the distance that they made this story up to control people, or if it really is a guy who's called the King of Colors, like, both of those options, I would be excited to see how Lorenzo delivers that, like, because I know that he'll do that in a way that feels satisfying to the story.
Yeah.
TJ, you did you say something about the Wizard of Oz, or did
I did
you, Ryan?
I brought it back to the Wizard of Oz when talking about, like, it could be related to religion, or make people thinking that something is something when it's really not, like the Wizard of Oz. Like, you think that the wizard is this great and powerful Oz, but then you get there and he's just a man and really has no power at all.
What if it literally could be something like that? Like, it could be just someone up there that manipulated people into thinking this, or even maybe didn't even try to, but like
even Lorenzo. I mean, you have the color piece of this too, right? Even Lorenzo, in his letter in the first issue, talked about the use of color and how they did it in the Wizard of Oz. So,
Question for you guys. Well, I was gonna say, do any of you think that this man has ever been there?
Not after, like, the ending of this. No,
I don't think he's ever been there. I think that he is taking the stories that he knows from being a magister, the learning that he has gained over these course of years to realize, they went into hiding. We can survive out here, but the king is still up there. I've seen the rainbow. Like, I've seen I think he's still in between. He's halfway there, but he's one egg short of a dozen.
Oh my God, with the bird butt.
What? So I gotta say, so they go into his nest, which is, not a nest, it's a hole. Yeah, it's a hole, a burrowing bird. when she says a hole, and I don't know if it's the art, but her climbing down, it's narrow, and then he's like, come. I was like, oh, this guy's bad. This was the moment for me. This was the moment I was like, ooh, I'm not feeling this. This isn't good.
I still didn't know.
Really?
I was tricked.
And even because he's like, yeah, birding word, but sorry, I'm no bird. Like, I was like, oh no, see, you're trying to be funny now. I'm not going in your hole. No, I
can see it now that it does look very. I can see it now that it does look very ominous. But yeah, the I'm no bird, sorry, made me laugh, and it just took me completely off the trail.
I feel like, Ryan, you would make your mom proud that you wouldn't crawl into an old man's hole. Because me as a little kid, I'd be like,
I taught him well.
Yeah,
good job.
But me, I'd be like, what? You're not a bird. You're so funny. What do you got down in this cave thing? This scary cave.
What about your costume? You got to go get your bird costume?
Yeah, what? You have more? You have more costumes? You want me to dress up with you? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
But even still, Ryan, I should have known when he made this food. He's like, here, eat. Like, it's poisonous, you know? Or did it knock her out?
I don't think so.
I don't think it did.
No.
I think there was something else that did that. But we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he makes her this food.
This is where he talks about the colors, like that.
Yes.
Blue stops them. Red, they attack.
White, they search.
I just had it. Oh yeah, red they attack, white they search, purple they rest, yellow they move, blue they stop. I thought it was interesting that white was one of the colors, considering they can't see white, and he even says it too, like right before blind spot. So let's see. Their sight is based on color. The more it is allowed, the clearer they see. The blind spot is black and white. I think those are just outside the reach of their senses, like the silence between sounds or the space between two lines. They move in herds and have no leader. Their behavior is connected to the color on their neck, and they can change that at will. When one does, the others follow. So yeah, it was interesting.
So it makes sense that white is they can't see, so that's what would.
It's like neutral to them.
So it means search. I thought it was interesting that there was white and there was not green, because then the other thing I immediately thought of was what do her eyes mean then? Okay, so we got blue and green. What are those two things, and could that mean something? But there's no green, so yeah.
I do like also that he points out that like she calls them demons, and he immediately kind of debunks that part of their mythology where he's like, demons, they're just animals. Like that's just a lie that we were telling people to make them believe that we had found a solution by, staying in the Pale City. Like, so we're starting to peel back already in all the lore that was told in the last issue, which parts at least this guy is saying is false and is a lie.
Right.
And then we get kind of the biggest piece about this character is he starts talking about like the powdered balls that he threw at the monsters, and he says that he uses those to talk to the creatures, and he throws the blue ones to get them to stop, and they typically won't respond to him. They'll see it and they'll react a certain way, but they won't respond to him. And he talks about how there's, in order to speak to them and actually interact with them back and forth, there's something missing, and he doesn't know what it is. There's like a key that he's looking for, and he says, yes, the key to freedom. And he's looked for that. And he talks about their ancestors and how they always searched for whatever that missing link is, whatever that missing key is. And eventually they got lazy and they stopped looking for it, and instead they just created the Pale City, and they called that a victory. But in reality, that was more like a surrender than a victory. It was just them being lazy and them just surrendering to a new lifestyle of hiding.
That panel is my favorite bit of writing in this whole issue, where he says the truth is they just grew tired and gave up. They stopped running and dying, but they also stopped looking and trying. They hid. And they called it a win. It was a surrender. Like that to me is such a great like continuation of all of the stuff Lorenzo was doing in last issue, where it was not just talking about the characters in this book, but very much making a statement about like what it means to progress forward and how it's dangerous and that's going to cost lives sometimes. But if you just take the safe route, then you're not really gaining something. You're giving up. Like, it's beautifully written by Lorenzo.
I love that.
Do you think that could be a reflection in like in real life, like our world, how, you know, we're complacent and not really like trying to, not really, you know, with technology and stuff like that, but like trying to broaden our minds a little bit more, and how, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Lorenzo just commenting on that if you want to you know, push into something new in life, you have to take risks, and it's going to be dangerous, and you have to brave that instead of just like finding your safe spot where you can hide away from things. Like, you have to push into what is dangerous, what could be dangerous, in order to keep learning, to keep growing.
Yeah. And she gets this look on her face, and he says, "Hey, like, you know, none of that. Like, you're out now. You're free. There, you know, I mean, there's life to be had, but you need to get some sleep. It's time to rest." And I love that we get this, like, after all of that, after the chasing and meeting this guy who's super weird and it's just chaotic, we get this like intimate, quiet moment where it's just her. He's sleeping. It's just her. And she pulls out Zet's like journal, basically. And then he appears and he goes, "Hey, that's mine. That's my stuff." And she's looking through it, and she's looking through everything that he wrote. And you see pictures of like the creatures and some other things.
You
and then
see the black egg.
The black egg, yep. And then she turns to the final page and she starts crying and looks down, and it's a picture of her in black and white.
Remind me, do we know that she had this journal?
I think it's because Zet gives her his jacket right before he gets.
There you go.
And
Thank
so
you.
that if you see in the panel, she goes like this and like feels something there,
Yes.
and then pulls it out of the
Yeah.
like,
I forgot
poncho.
she was wearing his jacket. I forgot that was his like poncho. You're right. Totally.
Did
That's
anyone else like freeze
That's
frame
amazing.
on the panel where she's flipping through and just try to read
Yes.
all of it?
Yeah.
Like, there's bits that you can, like losing it, trust feeling, like
Pinning, you can see pinning like happening, or no. I see no there as well.
yeah.
Yep. And then she sees the picture of herself in black and white, and then she looks over and she sees all of the different paints and powders that Celisto uses for the smoke bombs. And she takes the blue and the green, and she colors her eyes in, and then sets the journal down and goes to sleep.
Also, really
So cool.
like beautiful little touch that Lorenzo did with the art when it shows her actual eyes, the tears rolling down from her blue eye, and then when she like colors in her eyes, the blue is kind of like
Nice.
streaked off to
You're
the
right.
side a little bit, like just beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this evil bastard
Comes crawling out.
crawling out of the pit, covered in
It's very
Terminator.
cinematic. It's very cinematic.
He still has
Yeah.
that fucking sickle, man. That's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
be like,
because you just see the bloody vines, and you go to the next one, and then you can see like a rock coming up from the vines where you imagine like where the blood is flowing, because you see him, you know, then you see his bloody feet, and then you see him like with the sickle and just completely bloody, and it just like the way it was drawn and the way it, you know, it was very cinematic and makes him even more evil. So, and then you get
Got a lot of red
his
on him.
eyes.
Not a great look for being out in the wild, covered in blood.
I imagine like he's gonna get attacked in the next issue and just like fuck
Yeah.
him up.
Next time we see him, he's just gutting one of the like giant crocodiles.
So, still not the end.
Nope.
this had me. I was tricked. So we
So
get
this is
the old guy.
This is what actually paralyzes her. He puts some kind of dust on her and says makes everything still, like a seasoning. Good. Breathe in, and puts it in her face. So she's breathing this thing in, and that is what's paralyzing her. And he goes, "Oh yes," eyes open as she starts to wake up. And then he's standing over her, and I love this too because it's all very like pale, except for what he's wearing is super bright still, like the feathers from his suit. And he says, it's easier to peck them out. Sorry. And he's pointing the knife very close to her eyes. So I'm thinking that he believes that the missing link, the key to communicate to them is her eyes, because she has eyes just like the creatures have eyes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Is this a misdirection? Is he evil? Is he bad, or do you think he's actually gonna pluck her eyes out, or is he talking about something else, or is Zet gonna fucking materialize or something crazy like that?
The only thing that I keep going back to is the fact that he said he basically told her, "Hey, don't be sad. You're free. You're out of the Pale City now." Mm-hmm. So like, why would he say that if he was like planning on killing her? Or maybe he's not planning on killing her. Maybe he's just planning on taking her eyes from her.
Well, yeah, he says like, what's with that face? You're out of the Pale City. Hope is alive again. Like, so maybe that's just like him celebrating for himself. Like, no, like everything's gonna be great because I got your eyeballs now. Like,
I mean, he might say in the next issue, listen, like I'm not totally evil. I don't plan on killing you. Like, I have no desire to kill people, but I need your eyes, so I'm taking these.
So,
man, I feel like
issue three. There are two covers so far. One is her wearing color, like a colorful thing, and on a cliffside, and it's really awesome. Her hair is blowing. But the other one is someone holding her hand and pulling her. They're running together, and it looks like they're wearing that feather costume, so it looks like it's him.
I wonder if she tries to stop him, to talk him out of it or whatever, and they get interrupted by someone and they have to flee. And he's like, she has no choice. Like, it's either dude with a sickle who followed them or found a way to track them or whatever, or follow this guy and he's dragging me along. And that's that moment on the cover. But again, covers, we can't take it too literal. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like between issue 1 and issue 2, we had a better idea of the ways that this can go. And I mean, is she going to be on her own for the second half of, like, what is the second half of issue 3? Like, I have no idea.
What's crazy is the fact that we are now halfway through the entire story. We've read half of Kroma.
Is it 4? It's 4 issues?
Yeah, it's 4, yeah.
So I did appreciate, like you had mentioned, turning to that last page where it was like, it's still not done. There were so many times reading where it's like, please don't let this be the last page. Yeah. Like, I appreciate how much you get out of this.
It's crazy how much is still coming, like the King of Colors, and I think, and like going back to the Pale City and the boys and the Maccabi. Like, there's so much to still touch on. It's just going to keep getting better.
I think she arrives at the mountain at the end of next issue.
Oh yeah, I could see that being like the cliffhanger of she arrives there and the big mystery is like what's actually inside. Yeah.
If it were to happen at all, it would.
She gets to the Emerald City.
You can't.
This whole thing is going to be a Wizard of Oz thing. Wizard of Oz.
Did you guys read the letter in the back?
No, I didn't get a chance.
I think it's pretty cool. He basically talks about how what Kroma was originally, what his original idea for it, and it was supposed to be a little more like childlike, basically. And he had the idea years ago, and like Zet was never a character, and Kroma had like this pet or like an animal that could talk to her and stuff, and it was more geared to a younger audience, and not only a younger audience but a completely different audience. He said he was more gearing it toward, like, I believe he said it was like a European audience. And he said that he was kind of shopping around the idea to different places, to different comic studios or whatnot. And then he ended up getting a phone call from Robert Kirkman asking if he wanted to do Oblivion Song with him. Mm-hmm. So he put Kroma on the back burner, and he said that he used his time on Oblivion Song to really learn about writing and learn about like story building. And it was a really, really cool letter and like the history of Kroma. And he said he basically rewrote Kroma from the ground up and completely redid it. Cool. And he said all it took was one letter to Robert Kirkman and to Sean Makowitz, and Kroma was, happening.
Yeah, it was great. He was talking about how different the pitch was before, and he like reworked it while working with Kirkman, but then and how many times he got turned down trying to pitch it, and it just seemed like it was going nowhere, and all of the work he put into it. And then as Oblivion Song was wrapping up, he pitched it to Kirkman, and then it's just one line in the letter said, it took one email. And again, that to me, it tied back to his writing in the beginning of you have to keep running and dying. Like you have to keep failing. You have to keep trying. Mm-hmm. And eventually you get to the other side of it. Right.
Way to bring it back around.
I'm so
you can tell why it's an artist.
Naturally.
And a creator. Cause that's the kind of stuff that he can see. Wow.
Yep. That was good.
Wow. I'm dumb. Wyatt's in the room. I think the pictures look cool. Yeah, Bill, but the pictures are saying all these things.
All right. Well, I think that does it for episode 2, issue 2. Issue 3 comes out on January 18th.
Wow.
So not too far away. And that means our next episode should go live on the 20th or that weekend.
That weekend sometime.
And isn't that 2 days before the Invincible anniversary too?
4
2 days before the 20th.
This is the 22nd.
That's 22nd, isn't it?
So 4 days.
4 days?
I can't remember.
That's gonna be an exciting week.
There's just going to be a whole month of Invincible and Kroma and good stuff, and there's going to be lots of cool stuff coming.
Good
so
stuff.
Again, if you don't follow us over at the Invincible Podcast, check us out over there.
Yeah, and please send in your thoughts on Kroma. We want to hear what you think. Even if you just read issue 1 and you want to send them in, or you just have something that, hey, you guys missed this in issue 1, or you didn't talk about this in issue 2, or
we want to know your predictions for issue 3. So
yeah, what do you think's in that mountain? What do you think's up there? Their king? I'm tired, guys. It's been a long day.
Fair enough.
All right. We'll see you guys in episode 3.
Bye.
See you next year.
Bye. Oh yeah. Bye. Happy New Year. Bye.
Happy New Year.
Wait. Last time I did. We'll see Hugh next time.
Oh.
That's our sign off.
I had to go to court today.
Oh, was your court date from when you were coming to my house?
And I got yelled at by the judge because I asked him a question, and you're not supposed to. You're just supposed to be like, "Yes, I plead guilty."
That's such a you thing to get yelled at by the judge. Sir, no, it's my turn to talk. I'm the judge.
I mean,